All right, welcome to a very special edition of 94 Feet. We're going to mix it up a little bit today, kind of stray away from the fashion and sneaker side of things and focus on the big stuff right now in the NBA, which is game one of the NBA Finals. Which, Danny, I wasn't able to watch it personally because I was at work, but hey, you got to tell me about it. How'd that thing go?
Okay, what a crazy game. I'll get into, the entire game. We'll go quarter by quarter. But my biggest takeaway, game one, I'm sorry. Celtics just stepped up in the fourth real quick. And the role players, it was the role players this game. Someone other than Jason Tatum stepped up. Jason Tatum went cold today. We'll get into that later. But for me, my biggest takeaway, real quick, Horford, 26 points, six threes. Derek White, 21 points, 5 from 7 from deep. Against Miami, this guy, he had a game six, I remember, where he hit a couple of threes in that loss, but he shot 22% from three versus Miami. And this was the first time he hit five threes all season. Marcus Smart was balling out there. He hit four from deep. As a team, the Boston Celtics made more threes than the Warriors, and that's pretty much what it came down to, especially in the fourth. Like I said, we'll get into that later. But if you're going to shoot 21 for 41 from behind the arc, you got a chance against the Warriors. The Warriors who, we know they're going to, get up 40 shots from deep. We know they're going to hit 20 a game, and if you can hit 21, you're going to win. And we saw it tonight. Kate, what was your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch the game, but I was able to listen in, and there was a lot of really big takeaways from this game that I noticed. Of course, you look at the way Steph Curry played in the first quarter. The way I saw it is that if Steph Curry was going to play that way in the first quarter, it was going to be an easy win for the Warriors in game one at home in front of their home fans. But obviously, of course, the biggest storyline out of this game is the fact that the Celtics outscored the Warriors 40-16 in the fourth quarter. If there is no better time to get hot in a game than in the fourth quarter when you're down by 15 in the third quarter. That's something that wasn't mentioned yet. But the Celtics were down 15 at one point in the third quarter. They come back, storm back is a better way to describe it, and then go up by 15 at one point in the fourth quarter. And then obviously, of course, they go on to win by 12. But like I remember you mentioning it. Oh my god, I'm sorry, mentioning it and the last show. But these are two teams that really can't close it out. And like the big question I have for you is in this game, were the Warriors not able to close it out, or were the Boston Celtics just able to get such a good fourth quarter going that they kind of just overwhelmed the Warriors at the end of the game?
I kind of want to. I'll go through the whole game, but to answer your question, this Boston Celtics team, they were just red hot. No one could miss in that fourth quarter. They were playing hot potato on the key. It was Tatum dribbling into the key. Who's the open guy? They're gonna hit it. If it's Al Horford, it's Al Horford. If it's Derek White, he's gonna hit that. Contested threes too. Marcus Smart coming up big in the fourth also, and that's just so deflating for a team on defense where it's like, man, these guys, we can't stay in front of them. If we are staying in front of them, they're hitting threes, and it's not. Okay. Jaylen Brown was huge in the fourth, but it wasn't the Celtics' best player. It wasn't Jason Tatum killing them. At one point, Theis even hit a three. I think not in the fourth, but like the Celtics just couldn't miss from downtown, and that's just so deflating to a team where it's like the Warriors. They're like, yo. We can't do anything. We can't stop these guys. So to answer your question, I think it was more of the Celtics just going crazy in the fourth.
I agree. And one of the big players that you mentioned that has proven themselves time and time again in this playoff, especially in the fourth quarter, is Jaylen Brown. Going into this game, he had 120 fourth quarter points, which for obviously any postseason role, that's massive, especially going into the fourth quarter when it really matters, when teams are able to really show themselves who can close out and who can't. And it seemed that just going into the fourth quarter, Jaylen Brown was that leader who kind of built that path for the Celtics to finally come back and overall just take a commanding game one win. And then, of course, obviously, as you mentioned as well, it wasn't Jason Tatum. It wasn't their big stars. It was all the role players around him that made it out. Al Horford had a fantastic game. Derek White had a fantastic game. And Derek White is a guy that started his season in San Antonio, got traded to Boston later on in the season, and he's now making massive moves on one of the biggest stages in the world at this point, really, with the NBA. So there's so much to just really dive into in this fourth quarter, and it's just a matter of how are the Warriors going to be able to respond to that in game two?
I want to go back to Jason Tatum. He shot 3 for 17. For me, he had 13 assists, but two of 9 at halftime. I want to see Jason Tatum a little bit more aggressive to start the game. I know he was dropping dimes, he was keeping them in the game. Finding the open man, but to only have, I know 2 for 9 is not a good field goal percentage, but only 9 shots in the first half, it felt like it was a little too passive for me. He started off the game hot. He hit that first three of the game to kind of respond to a wide open Curry. Curry hits the first three of the game, and you're like, oh, yo, Curry's here to play. Tatum responds, and after that, he really didn't take over. What's your take on Jason Tatum? I'm sure you think he'll be fine, though, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, he's shown time and time again that he'll be good. Obviously, I feel like a lot of it just has to go in with the fact that the entire Celtics team had absolutely no finals experience going into Game One of the finals. I mean, you have a first year head coach who has no finals experience in his own terms against a team like the Warriors, who have made the finals in the past 6 out of 8 years, who have over 100 combined games of finals experience. So obviously, there's going to be those nerves there. There's going to be some just kind of things to get over at that point. And I think now Jason Tatum has a taste of what it's like to be in the NBA Finals. I think in Game 2 he's gonna he's gonna explode, and he's gonna show what how he is that team leader in Boston. Now, real quick, I also
Yeah.
do want. Or my bad. Sorry,
Okay,
I
I'll go
cut you
real
off.
quick. I hope you're right, Cade. Jason Tatum. I picked the Celtics in 7. I'm gonna need him. I hope he didn't jinx himself wearing that Laker Kobe wristband last series as a Celtics. That might have been bad luck. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope he can turn it around.
Yeah, like I said, I think he'll be good. And I think realistically going into this series, I think he's going to be somebody that needs to step up because all the role players in Boston they had a fantastic night. But realistically, how often are we going to see that throughout the series? I mean, who knows? Maybe they have a 7 game stretch where they do absolutely fantastic. They wouldn't even need 7 games at that point because they could probably finish up that series in 4 or 5. But it's at this point in the season everybody is going to need to be there for help. And while I do think that those role players in Boston are still going to have a major role, as hence the name role players, Jason Tatum is genuinely going to step up. I think he's going to be that team leader. I'm willing enough to say that I think he's going to be able to step up and play at a level where he'll end up being Finals MVP. Especially if the series does go 7, I think at this point, the best player on the best team is going to end up getting that. And as of now, that is Jason Tatum with the Boston Celtics. So I
Ooh,
think he'll be
after
good.
what we saw with Jaylen Brown in that fourth quarter, I don't know.
Hey, you know what? If the series continues to play the way it has through 6, 7 games, how long? I mean, we think it's both going 7. So let's just say it does go 7 games. If each game is played out like that, where the Celtics are winning, coming back in the fourth quarter, and it's all led by Jaylen Brown, then obviously you can discuss him as a possible Finals MVP candidate. But as of now, I still, like I said, it's so hard to tell this early on in the series because the Warriors are going to bounce back. They have that experience. They know what they're expecting in Game 2. They kind of understand now the dynamic that Boston's playing with. I'm assuming they also probably recognize that Boston isn't going to come into Game 2 shooting as well as they did in Game 1, especially playing in San Francisco still. So I think that realistically, Jaylen Brown is going to be a fantastic role member. Fantastic role player on that team.
Role player, whoa, star.
See how I don't know because I
Cade,
think right now, and all I'm saying is right now because I think as of now, and you're talking about just straight up fourth quarter performance, like he's a star. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like he needs to prove himself a little bit more throughout the series in order to really get that stardom within the confines of where he's at right now. I mean, you look at Steph Curry, you look at Clay, you look at Jason Tatum. I mean, all these stars around him. I think as of now, Jaylen Brown has the potential to cement himself as a star, but obviously, if right now a Game 1 win doesn't really mean much. I mean, I know everybody says it. The series doesn't start till you win one on the road. Jaylen Brown helped them win it on the road, but I still think just as of now, it's a little bit too early to say that he's really going to make as big as an impact as what people are saying he's going to at this
all
point
right,
right
well,
now.
I gotta disagree with you. I think he's already cemented himself as a star. We've seen him take a young team, as the number 2 option all the way to the finals. Cade, they're already there. He's already a star. We saw him come up big in that Miami series. He had a 40-point game 5, I believe. They came back down game 7, or they forced game 7 against the Bucks, against the Heat. They won those games, and Tatum was the right hand man to Tatum. I think he's a star.
I was gonna say, we'll have this conversation again at the end of the series, but as of now, I think if he continues to play the way he does, yeah, at the end of the series, he's not going to be a guy that's going to be forgotten anytime in near history. He's going to be remembered for his heroics in the NBA Finals in 2022 against powerhouse Golden State Warriors. But as mentioned, I think
we talked about some Finals MVP. And I think we haven't really touched too much on Steph. We haven't really talked too much about the Warriors. Are you ready to go there? Or you still got some Celtics
talk? I was gonna say I was ready to talk about the Warriors.
Okay,
and Steph in general.
Yeah, I'll start it off if you don't mind. First quarter, before this game started, all week we've been hearing about Steph Curry. This is his time to get that Finals MVP. I'm sure you've been hearing about that on TV, podcasts, everywhere, ESPN. It's his time to step up this series. Celtics inexperienced team, and in the first quarter, Steph Curry is taking over the game. He had 21 points in the first half. He shot 7 for 9 from the field, 6 threes. I had a little bit of money on Steph Curry over 27.5 points for the game. I was like, yo, I already made my money. It's the first quarter. Let's keep it rolling. He heard the doubters, and honestly, when you hear that, it's like, yo, this game's over. Steph Curry, 21 points in the first quarter, Cade. Like you would think that the game's over, right?
Exactly. I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I thought the game was over after the first
exactly
quarter.
After the first quarter. But you look down at the score, and it's only 32-28. It's a 4-point game still. That was the spread of -4, and it's still only a 4-point game. You would expect the Warriors to be up 10. The Celtics just looked terrible on defense. There was no communication on switches. I remember there was an easy inbounds play where Wiggins got a backdoor bucket, easy 2 points. Steph Curry was just hitting open threes. They were deep open. But Tatum, that was when he was facilitating. Derek White hits a 3. Tice hits a 3, and the Celtics were able to stay in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm going to take you through 3 quick stats that really kind of sum up the way that Steph Curry played this game. First off, and I'll go in ascending order, start off with maybe the least interesting and then kind of go up to the best back there. But first one, Steph Curry obviously had 21 of the Warriors' 32 points. That says enough about just the way his style of play affected the game and the way that he wasn't necessarily getting the help he needed from the other members of his team. That's the first fact. Second fact, he is the only player in NBA Finals history to hit 6 threes in a quarter, which obviously that stat speaks enough for itself. I mean, you're talking about some of the guys just, of course, who have played in NBA Finals history. For him to be the only one to hit 6 threes in a quarter is insane. And then finally, this is the first time we've seen a player reach 21 points in a quarter since Michael Jordan did it back in 1993. So you're talking about an absolutely historic quarter by Steph Curry, slowly ruined by the way that Boston played the series or the rest of the game. So I think you look at that and you got to say that as of now, that momentum of obviously hearing how he deserves to be a final MVP. This is his chance to become a finals MVP and kind of, again, just really making himself his legacy as one of the best players in the game. Obviously he comes out shooting that way. He comes out that committed to the idea, and then it kind of washes away. So my question to you now is, going into game 2, do you think that's going to not just power Steph Curry more, but do you think that's going to power Golden State to more so build around, or not build, but kind of just grasp that team mindset around Steph and actually go in and possibly even just, whoop the Celtics possibly?
I mean, my game 2 prediction, we'll wait for the end of the podcast for that, because I'm still thinking. I'm not there yet to predict game 2. But I think, Steve Kerr is going to have to go back to the drawing board, figure out what went wrong, what went right, because the Celtics bigger, taller lineup than the Warriors what worked eventually. Warriors were up 15, so I'm sure the Warriors feel like, they got something there, and they do, but they lost the game. They lost by 12 somehow. And Wiggins was not able to stay in front of Horford. That's kind of it sounds like a mismatch. If you say Wiggins is on Horford, Wiggins should be getting buckets on Horford. but Horford was able to stay inside. Wiggins not the best ISO player, and Horford was doing fine on the offensive side as well. He was able to move. Marcus Smart was able to match up against Draymond. We saw some Pritchard on Curry. It was just like the Celtics matchups were just working in their favor. In the fourth, of course. So Warriors they're gonna have to draw up. I feel like they're fine on offense because even though they came up short in the fourth, Steph Curry, after a terrible second half where he had 0 points, following up that historic first quarter. Zero points in the second quarter. I'm sorry. After he followed up that historic first quarter, Cade, you just listed all those records. He looked fine in the second half after he was kind of dejected going into halftime. Had got some fouls go the wrong way. He was in his own head. But I think the Warriors are going to be fine. Steph Curry kind of woke up in that second half. He was getting buckets for a while. They were just trading baskets in that third quarter, and I was kind of just waiting for the Warriors to just go just keep the lead and extend it back up to 10, and they weren't able to do that. Celtics went crazy from deep in that third quarter. Jaylen Brown, so many huge shots. So I think the Warriors are going to be fine. Not too many changes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I think realistically they're going into game two thinking that the Celtics aren't going to be shooting it nearly as good as they did in game one. And even just in the fourth quarter in general. I mean, obviously, the Celtics had just a fantastic fourth quarter. I don't think the Warriors are really going to be expecting that. I think they're going to look to kind of just lock it down more defensively. I think they'll be good, plain and simple. Obviously, I don't even think there's really much to draw up if you're Steve Kerr. I think the game plan itself worked out pretty well for the Warriors. Obviously, other than the fact that they got the light shut out on them in the fourth quarter itself, but I think realistically, yeah, like I said, I think you look at this and I think if you're in the Warriors position to first off score 112 on the best defense in the league, that says a lot in itself. And the fact that you kept the lead for the majority of the game, that says a lot in itself as well. So again, I agree with you. I think the Warriors are fine. I think they're going to bounce back in game two. And I mean, that's part of it. The reason we think this is going to go 7 games is because the Warriors aren't a team to just kind of run away from that adversity. They're going to just hit it hard, and that experience is obviously going to show off.
And we talked about the matchups. How the Celtics kind of got the best of the matchup game, and the Warriors. They were mixing with their lineups, and I feel like maybe they found something. For the first time we saw Andre Iguodala. I thought he was at the retirement home by now, but no, he's still getting minutes. He had some big buckets. He had a nice 3, a big dunk in that fourth quarter. Otto Porter, I'm gonna pull up his game log, Cade, but I don't remember the last time he was like consistent. Yeah, he had 2 DNPs against Dallas. He wasn't too heavy in their rotation. We saw a lot of Otto Porter tonight. And then no Gary Payton. I'm not sure if he was listed on the injury report, but from what I heard, he was supposed to play. So maybe we'll see some Gary Payton. Warriors, they still got some things to figure out. But with this lineup that, hasn't been so consistent lately, I think they looked fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they'll be good. And that's also something I heard too. I heard Gary Payton was expected to be back. And you got to think too, just having a bunch of these players that have been injured over the past few months actually coming back and start getting minutes in the finals. That's got to be a little bit of a momentum boost, you think, like obviously it gives the team a little bit more depth. You bring back a guy like Iguodala who has had that experience, and as a lot of people remember was the 2015 NBA Finals MVP. A lot of people who thought that Steph should have been that Finals MVP, but obviously went to Iguodala. So that experience helps a lot itself. I think that's a big momentum builder. Getting Gary Payton back obviously would be a big momentum builder. You saw him go down against Memphis. To get him back, yeah, I mean, even if his presence isn't necessarily as big as it would have been on the floor, again, like I said, just knowing that you're throwing another guy at Boston has got to be something that kind of helps boost those morales in the Warriors locker room. And then even then, at the same time, I mean, it's been said once, it's going to continue to be said again. This is a Warriors team that has so much experience under their belt. Steph, Clay, Draymond, they've all been here before. They've seen some of the craziest things happen in NBA Finals history before. They've been
of on the wrong side of that, Cade. That might not be a good thing.
They've been on the wrong side of it, and then they've been on the right side as well. It's something that they're they see this game one loss, and I mean they're gonna look at it as a learning experience. But at the end of the day, they're gonna go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow morning, and be ready for game two better more than anybody else is on both rosters. You know.
Is there anything else? Anything else you got? Before we hop into our game two prediction, it sounds like you're going with the Warriors.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's go into the game two prediction. Uh, First off, actually, real quick before we actually get into the prediction of who we think is going to win, what do you think is a thing or two you expect to kind of change going into game two, whether that's for Boston or Golden State?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I really hope that we see more Gary Payton. I think Gary Payton brings, a nice defensive presence where we saw it live. You knew it was coming, but you knew Boston was going to, target Poole and Curry on the offensive side, or on they're on when they're on offense, they're going to target Curry and Jordan Poole, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw Jason Tatum, get matched up multiple times with Steph Curry, and this, for whatever reason tonight, he couldn't get by him, and even if he did, he was missing. He wasn't really attacking. He was kind of pulling up from deep or mid range, kind of settling. I'd like to see him get in the post against Curry. Use that big tall body. Pause. And after that, it's like Jason Tatum's gonna have to wake up for the Celtics. I know we got into that in the beginning of the show, but I'm expecting a big Jason Tatum game in game two. Obviously, like you said, the role players are definitely gonna cool down. I mean, like that's just gonna happen. The Celtics aren't gonna shoot 51% from the field. I'm interested to see the Celtics game plan in game two, because we saw that they were firing, but you know, in the against the Miami series, the most threes they made in a game was 20, and that's when they went off and they dropped like 127. Other than that, they were only making like 10, 11 a game. So are they going to go back to, their offense where it's, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown kind of, transition, they're going to work, or is it going to be hot potato again? Horford's shooting from deep. So definitely interested to see what the offense is going to look like for the Celtics. Are they going to play the Warrior style basketball?
Yeah, that's a fantastic way to think about it. I think that's going to be a big question. I think Boston's going into game two thinking more about it than the Warriors are. I feel like because as mentioned, Steph Curry went off. They need to do a better job guarding him. The Warriors were up for a significant part going late into that game. It wasn't until the fourth quarter that Boston really kind of proved themselves and pushed themselves over the Warriors. So you got to think that even though the Celtics came away with the game one win, there's still things that they've got to improve on. There's ways that they can kind of lock up Curry, and I mean they did a good job on some of the other role players, or not role players, but other players like Durant and Thompson, but not Durant. Oh my God, I'm sorry, on Draymond Green and Thompson, but
Like they were just kind of letting Draymond shoot. I kind of like that game plan where it's like we'll help really, we'll help hella off Draymond, let him shoot the three and kind of live with it. Draymond, I think 2 for 12 tonight. I can pull up how many points he had, but
he had four.
um,
I just checked it actually.
he had 4 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 points, 2 for 12 from. I think he was 0 for 6 from deep. Just not a good game for Draymond. So I'm sure the Celtics are going to stick to that game plan.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, going back into it, I think again, Celtics are looking more at a game plan than the Warriors are. And I think they're going to be more looking at a game plan where they're going to start trying to get their offense going a little bit more, as you mentioned, kind of playing that Warrior style of basketball. But my big two things that I expect out of game two is first off, I think that we're finally going to see a real defensive battle. The number one defense in the league versus the number two defense in the league. We're going to start seeing those lower scoring games occur. Obviously, the Warriors are getting back into it. They haven't seen the finals since 2019. The Celtics are seeing the finals for the first time as a team. So I think nerves are much cooler. They're going to be a lot more relaxed going into it. They're going to be playing more of their style of basketball. And that defense is really going to show up for both teams. And my second big thing, obviously, as you just mentioned, Draymond Green went 2 for 12, only shot 4 points, or only got 4 points. I think this is going to be Draymond Green's big game, at home. He's not going to necessarily be he's not going to be a team leader in points or whatnot, but his presence is definitely going to be more felt in this game. I think there's a good chance he puts up a double-double in game two.
Okay.
So
You going into your prediction or what?
you know, Uh, it's weird because it's like seeing the way the Celtics play tonight. I almost want to pick the Celtics in game two, but at the same time, I've
No, you're
said it plenty of
crazy.
times. No, just wait. I know I've said it plenty of times. Celtics aren't going to be shooting the same way they did in game one. Warriors should have won that game. Celtics got hot. They ended up coming away with the win. This isn't happening in game two. Warriors are going to win game one. They're going to win game two, tie the series at one, and then go back to Boston feeling a little bit more comfortable about where they're at.
All right, I'll hop into my prediction. Originally heading to the series, I really thought the Celtics were gonna take game, or the Warriors were gonna take game one. I'm sorry, and then the Celtics were gonna take game two. But for the first time this playoffs, the Warriors are in a deficit in a series. They won game one against the Nuggets, against the Mavs, and against the Grizzlies. And Steph Curry, now we can say the experience matters. The Warriors have been there; they've been behind. And they've just been to the finals too many times. I expect them to come out gunning. Cade, I think I just lost Cade. I think I'm by myself. I got the limelight, the big screen. Never mind. Cade's got the big screen. Okay.
I was gonna say I don't know what happened there, but
all right, we're equals now. But as I was saying, I think Steph Curry is gonna come out shooting again, as we just saw in game one. I'm expecting a close game. Maybe not so many leads this time, but the Warriors to take game two, and then the series will be tied 1-1 heading into Boston.
shoot, I was gonna say I just had a question to ask you too before that whole thing. That whole cutout screwed me up. But yeah, no, I think that's a great take. I think it's weird to think though too, real quick. I'll touch on this as well. That as you mentioned, I thought the Warriors were gonna win game one, and I thought that the Celtics would win game two, even the series at one going to Boston. Obviously, we're now expecting that script to flip over. We now have the Celtics knowing that they won game one. Warriors, we're expecting the Warriors to win game two. Real quick, how do you think that? Oh shoot! Oh my god! Now I'm losing my train of thought. But okay, yeah, kind of just going into it. So obviously, Warriors have way more playoff experience. Do you think that would have been affected if they won today? Do you think that they go into game two feeling a lot more comfortable, a lot more relaxed, just kind of playing their style of basketball, where the Celtics are playing a lot more uptight, ready to go, just kind of like, I guess, more nervous,
So you're saying if the Celtics didn't get stupid hot in the fourth quarter, and the Warriors, won game one?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I would still think the Warriors would be nervous because we saw in that third quarter and fourth, the pretty much the second half, uh, Marcus Smart was getting buckets, and Jaylen Brown they were just getting buckets. They were able to keep the Celtics in that game. I'm not talking about the insane 3-point shooting. I'm just talking about the Celtics offense in that second half. I don't think all those role players are going to go crazy hot again. So I think the Warriors would still be worried. We saw in that third quarter, Marcus Smart was doing behind the back passes for layups. He was getting fancy with it. And they were just getting buckets on the Warriors. So I think even if the Celtics didn't go on that run and late in that fourth quarter, the Warriors would not be feeling too great, too confident, because Steph Curry, he had that terrible second quarter, 0 points in the second quarter to follow up that insanely record-breaking first quarter, something that we've never seen before. I would say the Warriors, they got some things to clean up. Let's just say that.
All right, for sure. You got any final thoughts before we head out?
I think that's all I got. Maybe on a TikTok we'll be throwing up some more finals content.
Hey, I was gonna say that's my plan. I got a few things in mind for that. So, yeah, I was gonna say that's it for me. We both think that the Warriors are gonna be winning Game 2 of this series. Make sure you guys tune in on Sunday night. We'll be heading back to 9 o'clock instead of doing it a little bit later like we did tonight. So yeah, Sunday 9 o'clock, Game 2 finals reaction should be a good one. We hope you have a great night, everybody. And hey, guys, make sure you follow on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that. Have a great night, everybody.